What's going on, you guys? My name is Cody Thixton, and this is Interesting Podcast. We are coming to you guys live on April 9th, 2025 for episode 106, where today we actually have a very, very special guest. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to introduce to you guys Cole Rivera.
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
Oh, dude, it is. Yeah, dude, it is awesome to actually have you. Thank you so very much for joining us here tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, let's just start out for all of the people who maybe don't know you. Maybe you can introduce your name, where you're from, and how long you've been in pro wrestling.
Totally. My name is Cole Rivera. I am from Portland, Oregon, based out of Portland, Oregon for any everything. And then I have been involved in wrestling for just over 2 years now. So I started training in March of 2023, March 13th to be exact. And then I had my debut match in July of 2023. So just over 2 years. Had a little bit of injury time in between there, but like to just say I'm at 2 years. It's a little bit easier.
Very interesting. All right. Well, before we actually dive into everything, like what first got you into pro wrestling? Was there like a specific time in which you got into it? Like what is your memories when it comes to that?
Um, yeah, so my earliest memory of wrestling was I was just scrolling through TV when I was little, and every single time I'd open up the guide, you'd see like this huge program that was 3 hours long. It was Raw. Um, and I just kept checking it out and just kept watching it back and watching it back, and um, just was kind of instantly hooked. To be completely honest with you, I saw Ryback kicking ass in 2012, and him of all people got me hooked. So just it's been like a commitment from there to say the least, and it's all I've ever wanted to do. It's all I've kind of leaned my life towards is pursuing this dream, and so it's a total honor. It's insanely cool that I get to live this out and chase this now.
Yeah. Yeah, that has to be really weird to start from a young age and then kind of now look back on like what you're doing and like the fact that you've actually accomplished it.
Yeah.
So like when you were walking into your first day at Oregon Pro Wrestling School, like how excited were you to actually step into that environment?
Excited 100%. Very excited too. Extremely anxious, not knowing what it was gonna be. But just like it didn't feel weird, if that makes sense. So I walked in and it was really cool just like see the facility and see our old mat room and a wrestling ring, but you're like able to get in the wrestling ring for the first time ever. And so to get into experience, it was the coolest thing ever. And everyone there is so supportive of your journey. And just it was the coolest thing ever. So excited, all time high. It was one of the coolest days ever. Being able to just show up and be like, I'm going to be a wrestler now. I'm not just a fan and I'm not just watching anymore. Like I am going to do this and pursue this now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that like I've tried to explain to people is the hardness of the ring. And I don't think a whole lot of people exactly what you guys are bumping on. And so like were you expecting that hardness when you actually took your first bump and really hit the mat for the first time?
Yeah, I mean you hear all about it, but there's nothing compared to being in the ring and being on that hard surface and feeling it and being able to go and yeah, it catches you off guard. You're not ready for it. It's gonna catch you off guard. It's gonna knock the wind out of you 100% to say the least, if not worse. But it's it's much worse than people kind of imagine because I think it gets watered down with how many bumps and moves you're taking in a match. But no, it's no joke. You can't. There's not very much margin for error.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Well, I definitely want to dive into your perspectives about the Midnight Heat. And so, like with Ricky Gibson and Eddie Pearl, what is one thing that you really enjoy that they bring to OPWS that really helped you gain that knowledge as far as pro wrestling is concerned?
Just an authenticity and just Like seeing, and yeah, I understand Ricky and Eddie, yes, but just with everybody as well too. Just the hunger that we have there, and how everybody wants to just be the best, be on the big shows, go make all the towns and everything like that. And there's always something going on there. And so seeing them set the standard for that, it's a pleasure to be able to train under them and learn from them. And just kind of, they're great role models to be able to model yourself after on how to handle yourself in and out of the rig as well too.
Very interesting. Yeah, I was sitting here wondering like what they kind of bring to pro wrestling that maybe you also carry with your character. Is there something in particular that you really try and bring to the ring
Um,
besides there you
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Say that one more time for me, please. Just like what?
Is there one thing that they kind of carry with their own characters that like you really like to bring to your overall character when you actually step into the ring?
Just I get, obviously they're my trainers, so I take whether I notice it or not. You're taking things from them. I think you can see that sprinkled all over the talent that trains there. Um, but just I don't know, man. Just going out there and just being yourself, ramping yourself up, not being afraid to say, do whatever. Just go out there and just be a performer, be a good wrestler. Have that desire to just I don't know, go out there and perform. I don't really have like a set answer for anything that I've necessarily modeled myself after them specifically.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's countless things that subconsciously I do and don't do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, was there anything when you were going throughout OPWS and before you graduated that maybe like you struggled with, and like how did you overcome that struggle?
That I struggled with. I didn't have a single like athletic bone in my body. I've never really played sports growing up. I never really did a whole lot of that, so I started working out at a younger age because I wanted to be and look like a wrestler. Um, but obviously going in and just lifting heavy weights is not going to transfer over to when you got to wrestle for 10, 15 minutes at a time. So working on cardio and training and being able to go and perform and execute things safely. I've become a much better athlete since going there, and taking that seriously, as well as just a number amount of things. But I've become a much better athlete rather than just some guy that goes to the gym because he wants to look a certain way or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, I've definitely heard that if you were going to ever step into professional wrestling, that cardio is definitely something that like you need to like focus on. So like,
Yeah.
is it difficult to like build yourself up to that pro wrestler cardio?
Yes, and you hear all the time like, oh, there's different levels of being in ring shape versus just in normal good shape and stuff. But I think this weekend I had a match against Casey Ferreira, who's an incredible wrestler, incredibly talented. But man, that guy does not slow down one bit, and so I'm struggling to feel my legs, and he's going like he's never even stepped foot in the ring before, just sprinting circles around me. So the cardio, there's levels to the cardio, but then there's also just guys like him where it's just that next level where you have to just be able to go, and because it's matches start to get longer and longer and harder, and your body's got to be able to keep up. You got to be able to scrape yourself up off the mat. So cardio is no joke. Definitely the biggest hurdle for a lot of people is you get a lot of people coming in that watch a lot of wrestling and they want to become wrestlers. Um, and yeah, on paper it sounds great, but you're not just becoming a wrestler, you're becoming a professional athlete. So, at least in my opinion,
Yeah,
you have to take it seriously. You got to put yourself in, you got to put in the effort just as much, if not more, outside of the ring as you do inside. Because you can only train so many times at the school versus gyms open every single day. I don't think there's an excuse for why you're not going in or at least cranking out 10 push-ups. You got to be in shape, you got to look after
yeah,
yourself.
that is so interesting. Yeah, to kind of go off of like my earlier question when it comes to the Midnight Heat is what I've always explained to people about Eddie Pearl and what I find so fascinating about him is that his selling ability is amazing. Like I've always said that he is almost like the Dolph Ziggler of the Pacific Northwest. So like have you kind of like seen that a little bit when it comes to his character and how he kind of portrays himself training?
Um, to an extent, yeah. I think you pick up everything. There's opportunities to learn from everybody, and definitely something to look out for is how incredibly talented both Ricky and Eddie are, especially as coaches. But there's a bunch of people you can learn from, and I think it also just if we're talking about Eddie in this situation, the guy's a freak and he'll do anything. So, um, very talented wrestler. Um, and so yeah, it's just you learn different things from so many different people about the different aspects of wrestling and matches and everything like that. So, but yeah, it's very, very cool to be able to learn from them and train under them.
That is so interesting. I know when I was talking with Jack Hammer, he was kind of explaining to me about being a representative of Oregon Pro Wrestling School. So, does it like, do you kind of feel that same exact pressure whenever you go out to perform that you are, in fact, representing not only Ricky and Eddie as trainers, but the school overall?
Yeah, 100%. And it's carrying yourself on a show day, it's carrying yourself in situations like an interview like this. It's everything, right? Where it's because that's where we started, because that's where we train, because that's where we spend. I mean, you spend more time at the school than you do any other facility, wrestling wise. Um, you are a representative. You are pen and paper. If somebody wants to know what the school's like, they're going to look at you. So it's definitely something that you can't necessarily take lightly, and there's a reputation that follows it, and I think the school itself has a great reputation, and I wouldn't want to be the one to do anything to kind of scamper that or put a put a mark on that.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, let's talk about like cutting promos because I've kind of seen like little clips online about people where like they're trying to sit there and get into their promo and then they mess up and they have to retry and retry so that then they can actually cut the perfect promo. So, like, how does it feel for you whenever you're put in that situation where they're like, give us this? Like, how is that as a pro wrestler?
It's very for me personally, it's cool. I want to be given any opportunity I can take to progress my career. So whether it be a match in the ring, whether it be a promo, before, after, online, anything like that, I want to be able to do it all and just be a good all rounder. Um, so with promo specifically, it's cool to me because it's an opportunity to speak. It's an easy opportunity to build a connection because the fans, everybody can watch wrestling versus you're able to put your voice out there and portray who you are, who you want to be, how you want your character to be seen, heard, how you want yourself to be seen and heard as well. Um, as for delivery and anything, I like I just like to talk, man. So give me an opportunity, give me an opportunity, and I'll talk as much as I want.
Oh, that is so awesome. Because it was actually the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was the last time that I had seen you, you were in Independence, and when you were making your entrance, you were going over to the ropes and just like talking crap to the fans. And like, was that something that like you kind of thought about when maybe you were younger, thinking about being a pro wrestler, or you kind of thrown into that spotlight where now this is what you
It's kind of just become who I am to an extent, and it's not even
do?
the in the ring thing; it's an out of the ring thing where I think anybody who I'm in the car with too will see it. Is I just kind of start rambling and going, and if I get started, it's kind of hard for me to stop. And that's I'll talk, I'll talk, man. You get me going about the right things, and I'll let you know my mind about it. So you combine that with fans not necessarily giving me the most respect or showing me the admiration that I believe I deserve for all the work and stuff I've put in over the last 2 long, grueling years of my life in this thing. Um, But no, I think it's just fun for me now. Of course, I think as any wrestler, when I was younger, I wanted to be this huge, jacked dude that just goes out there and kicks ass all the time, and then you start to realize maybe you're not this John Cena, Ryback, and Goldberg sized dude. So you kind of gotta pick and choose with what works for you. And for me, that just turned out to be just getting rowdy and getting in somebody's face if I need to.
That is so interesting. Well, when it comes to actually like developing a character, because I was looking online and there was at one point that you went by the Spanish Stallion. So like, how
Hmm.
did that whole nickname come to be, and how was it kind of developing a character with going to school?
Um, Personally, I just heard one of my buddies in wrestling say it, and it kind of stuck, and I didn't have anything to go by, and so I just added it on, and I kind of like the ring of it, but it's also to an extent how I do see myself, and this over the top. I'm Spanish, so that's easy, and then stallion. I like to think that you put me in the ring against some guy who's you think of a stallion, sorry, you think just this big horse. I don't know, you think of just an incredible animal, athlete, whatever, and that's what I want to be is I want to be the best athlete that I can be, as I was kind of alluding to earlier, is if you put me in there with a big man, I want to be able to just kind of hang with whatever his style is, or you put me in the ring like I was this weekend against a Casey Ferreira, I want to be able to run and sprint and keep up with him too. So
Yeah,
really just more so of just I want to be an all rounder. I want to be able to go with whoever I'm in the ring with and keep up and make it pretty even, you know? Got to be able to do everything.
yeah. Yeah, so here's an interesting question. So like you were just explaining earlier that like you can kind of learn from everybody. And
Yeah.
like does it ever like fascinate you to get into a conversation and not really know exactly what you could possibly learn, but whenever you're throwing ideas back and forth, you think of something and you're like that would be perfect if I actually brought that to my character or tried to portray that in some way.
Yeah, I think I'm at such a young age in real life as well as wrestling that it's a lot of just trial and error and throwing stuff at the wall and just if it works, cool. If not, we'll move on to the next thing. And so that's kind of how the Spanish Stallion thing went was I was just throwing it at the wall. Cool. And then I heard a couple people be like, oh, I kind of like the sound of that. And if it's working now, it's not necessarily this crazy thing I like to portray myself with more than just a little extra thing to my entrance. But you know, it's something. It's something that some people might be like, oh, I kind of like the sound of that. And it clearly works enough to get brought up in a situation like this. So at least keep going with it till I think of something else or something new crosses my mind, and we can kind of go from there.
That is so interesting. Well, when because I've heard that whenever you're going to Oregon Pro Wrestling School, that Ricky will kind of come up to people and be like, "Okay, I think you're ready for your first match." And before we actually get into your first match, how did you feel when they actually came to you and said, "I think you're ready"? Did you think that you were ready before they actually initiated it?
I still don't think I'm ready, brother. uh, it feels almost like surreal to an extent where I don't remember how I found out I was actually wrestling on a show or anything, but I think I just saw it on a piece of paper that I had a match actually. Um, and I went and I saw it and I was like, oh, I guess we're there now. And you can't, I mean, I'm not gonna say no. It's what I've always wanted to do. So I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna ride with it. We're gonna ride this out, see how far it goes, and it's gotten me here. So
That is so interesting. So, was your first match at the Portland Hot Sauce Expo, and was it against Jack Hammer,
oh
who kind of led you through that
yeah,
match?
it was against Jack Hammer. Yes, guy beat the hell out of me in 90-degree heat for no reason.
Well, I find it so interesting that like Jack Hammer has like a really really good mind for the business, just as far as talking with him about everything. So like, how
Mhm.
did that kind of like transpire to him actually leading you through a match and being like, let's do this, like giving him that spot to kind of coordinate how exactly everything's gonna go.
Yeah, I think from a an in-ring perspective, I don't think there's many other people where I could be fortunate enough to get that kind of hot start with, you know, and it was incredibly fortunate that it lined up that way, and I got to wrestle a guy with his level of talent, charisma, etc., you know, and it was definitely nerve-wracking to go out there in front of fans for the first time, but um, just this confidence and this kind of like calmness um, came over me, and I was just ready to go. And you go out there, you perform, you bust your ass, and then all goes well afterwards, and you can be happy with it. But it was incredible to be able to lock up with him for my first match ever. Very fortunate again, and like you said, he's got an incredible mind, so I wouldn't necessarily wanted to be in there with anyone else.
Yeah, that is so interesting to think that like you actually got to perform for the first time in front of a festival
Mhm.
instead of like having it where it's just a basic house show and let's say you get like 30 people. You have
Yeah,
to come and watch that pro wrestling show. So like how nervous
yeah.
were you when you were actually performing and being like, I have all of these people watching right now? Has that helped your ability in front of a crowd?
I mean, it definitely helps to kind of be, like you said, it was at the festival, it was at the Hot Sauce Festival. So this is people who haven't even seen wrestling or anything that their mind is made up to. Their mind's already
Yeah.
made up on what wrestling is going to be. So being able to be their first impression, and they don't know it's your first match, they just want to go see wrestling. So being able to do that and perform is really cool. As for like nervousness and stuff, I hate to sound like a total um, kind of prick for saying this, but I don't necessarily get crazy nervous before matches. Um, I know some people do, and there's definitely been times where I've been a little nervous or a little anxious for certain things. Um, but I don't know. I've always just had this confidence of, you know, we're gonna go out there and whatever happens, happens. There's nothing I can do to change it, so I can't. I personally can't stress about that. I can't stress about the unknown. I can't stress about what's gonna happen, not happen. I got to go out there with my abilities, what I know I can do, and what my opponent can do, and we're gonna go out there, and whatever happens, happens.
Interesting. Yeah, I know when I was talking with Jack Hammer, he was saying that like you and him have like a really good relationship like backstage. And
Mhm.
so was there like one conversation that you had to with him where you guys both dived into professional wrestling that mostly sticks out in your mind?
Uh, no, I think it was just a lot of just banter back and forth and movie references, if you want me to be completely honest, and sharing a lot of the same hobbies. And when it comes to wrestling, having a very similar mindset as well too. Um, of just, you know, like I was saying, when it comes down to the school, is that we all want to be the best. We all want to be on these high level shows. So being able to share that and have somebody pick my brain and be able to pick his as well too, and kind of see the authenticity with us as well, which is very cool, and it's very cool to have people like him as well in your life in and outside of wrestling, and just be surrounded by such cool people. And I think it's for me too, being so new into this, it's everybody's been shamed for being a wrestling fan. Everybody's gone through something, whether it be in school, growing up, anything like that. It's such a niche thing that we're into. So now it's, oh, I'm friends with wrestlers and I am a wrestler and we get to go out and do this and hang out and it's cool to have wrestling friends for, like this is my life now. Whereas before it was just you're kind of that odd kid out and now it's this is all you do. It's the coolest thing ever. So being surrounded by some authentic people like a Jack Hammer are pretty cool. It's pretty awesome.
That is so interesting. So like who is like would you say is like the biggest jokester backstage that you've kind of come across where they really kind of bring everybody together to shoot the shit and whatnot?
I don't want to throw anyone specific under the bus. If you really want to name, I'll Sledge is a dork, but that's Sledge is my boy. I love those guys. I love the Hammers.
Oh, that is so awesome. So, like, what are some of your inspirations when it comes to pro
Mm.
wrestlers and like what you want to bring to your character? Do you have a list of wrestlers that you can name?
Yeah, 100%. I think just off the top of my head, I love AJ Styles. He's probably one of, if not my favorite wrestlers. AJ, Randy Orton. People kind of give me a lot of stuff because I'll steal some moves here and there. AJ, Randy, CM Punk, I love as well. I know that one's kind of hit and miss with some people, but and then classics, your Eddie Guerreros, your just other guys of that generation as well too that might not be here anymore, but um,
Yeah,
a bunch of stuff like that. But I'd say those are probably my big three are AJ, Punk, and Orton.
very
And
interesting.
that's just the generation I grew up in. I'm trying to get more and more into like this older stuff, and it's a lot of fun to watch and be able to learn. And you hear about all these great workers and stuff, and now you get to see it and understand it a little bit more. But for my generation, at least being as young as I am, those are my boys.
Well, how old are you actually?
I'm 21 years old.
That's what I thought. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so like he must be like 22 or something like that. I didn't really
Yes.
know. That is so interesting. I was sitting there talking with Jaden, and we were talking about how there's these five aspects that people will bring to their overall character, where it'll be certain
Mhm.
inspirations and then little parts of your personality that you kind of
Yep.
also alter. And you had kind of brought up that like you can kind of go on like a rant or get your point across, which you can see in the ring. Is there any other aspects of your um, personality that you really bring with your character?
Yeah, I mean, I like to just be, man, that is a kind of a tough question. I think we did really hit all of it, but I think it ultimately comes down to in and out of the ring, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm pursuing, I want to be the best at,
Yeah,
right? Like I want to be somebody people see my name on a card and they want to come check out, and they see me as another wrestler and they want to wrestle me and they want to be in the ring with me. I want to be someone of value to this, and I want to bring value to wrestling, and I want to bring more people in. And ultimately, it just comes down to I want to be everywhere. I want to travel. I want to be on all these big shows. I want to put in the work for that. I want to live out of my car on the weekends and so on and so forth, and travel and everything. So, um, I just want to. This is all I've ever wanted to do, and now that it seems like I'm getting some decent momentum here and there, and I want to just ride this out as long as I can, and just keep going. And in the ring, 100% want to be the best, and out of the ring, I want to carry myself as somebody who can be trusted with these things and be viewed as a hard worker, whether it be in the gym or in life or anything like that. So yeah, man, just want to
interesting.
just want to be successful with this.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about DOA shot in the dark. And I was watching
Okay.
your match against or not Cole Rivera, against Straight Quan. There you go.
Yeah.
And he had kind of gone to the top rope and then like kind of dived off, and you hit this like upward knee to his neck or whatever. And as
Yeah.
soon as I saw it, I was like, holy crap. Like, how is it kind of building a whole repertoire for yourself, or kind of integrating these new moves that you think would actually be really good?
Um, a lot of it is I see a 270-pound man jumping off the top rope and I want to hit him, so I gotta just throw my knee up or something. Um, so a lot of it comes down to just what's gonna help me survive in that moment. Because you can't do a lot of stuff when you see a man that size jumping off the ropes. But that stuff you'll see on TV or rewatching matches and be like, oh, that's cool. I want to try that. And other things of sorts, but it's a lot of trial and error. And I'm sure there's a lot of moves I'll still try and never do again after I've done them once. And there's a lot of moves I'll try and kind of add them to my move set. But I'm still in such a place of trial and error that gotta just like with a character, you gotta just throw stuff at a wall and seems to have rocked him pretty well. So God forbid we lock up again for his sake, and you never know, might be a couple of those. I think last time we Drake and I were in the ring, it was like you said, that shot in the dark, and what was that, January, February? I think February, and he didn't really have anything I wanted. I might have taken him a little bit for granted, but I think he's been on this little undefeated streak, and I'm the only man to take him to really any sort of limit since he's lost that title. But now he's got it again, and it looks pretty good. So I think credit where it's due. If anybody's going to be coming for him, kind of want to shot at that gold now.
That is so interesting. So, are there any like stipulation matches that you've kind of thought to yourself that you would love to perform in at a certain time in your career?
At a certain time, maybe. Right now, no, man. Uh, those deathmatch guys and everything like that are crazy. I'd love to be able to. I guess as for crazy stipulations, I'd love to work on my submission game and kind of prove to be a threat there, and maybe a little submission match here or there. Um, kind of be a better technical wrestler in that respect. I don't, man, I don't have any desire to be in these crazy stipulation matches. If I get put in one, so be it. I'll go where I gotta go. I'll do what needs to be done in these crazy extreme rules matches or anything like that. But until then, I think I'm just as much of a threat as I need to be in these singles matches and multi-mans and anything like that. So, but put me anywhere and I want to be successful. So, but no desire to be hit with a chair anytime soon. But I'll do it.
Yeah. So, is there any like downsides to actually being a heel? Is there anything that you've kind of seen that like it kind of sucks to have to portray that character?
Yeah, man, people hate me. Um, downsides, I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy being an antagonist. I enjoy just being able to look at somebody and tell them that, I'll be the bad guy and I'll do whatever it takes. I feel like there's no limit to what I can do as a heel, and I'm just now kind of scratching the surface of the character and these aspects and certain things like that and getting comfortable doing it. But um, I love it. I love it. I don't think there's any rules for me. I don't think there's any like limit to what I can and can't do, whether it be in the ring, on the mic, or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so like one thing I wanted to bring up to you was DOA Cold Blooded in Independence, and that was against Matt Brannigan, and you guys were
Oh
really
boy.
trying to put over um, this story about Matt Brannigan wanting to go and get his drink or whatever, and it's
Yeah, I
like
don't know
how,
if there's really the guy's just kind of a
how
booze bag. The guy's just a it wasn't anything about trying to put anything over there. The guy just has a problem. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, he's just got a problem and I want to help him out.
that is so interesting. Yeah, so it's like how I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, 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 it's all good. Damn. I was gonna go on different questions, but that kind of just answered it for me. That is so interesting. So, how is it? I know I had seen at Pow Pro Wrestling's Heart Punch that you
Hmm.
were going up against Jaden for the YouTube Championship. Is there are
Yeah.
like some cool things that he brings to pro wrestling that you really enjoy, especially working with him?
Um, I mean, it's just that anything's on the table, and you're gonna be heard, and your opinion's gonna be heard, and it's really really fun to be able to work with him, and he's insanely creative in the ring and out of the ring. That there's gonna be something unique to every match that he's in, as a performer, and so being able to plug and play my little bits here and there too, and just tell a good story and have a good match when we're out there. It was a pleasure, and I love working with him. Good friend as well too. So it was a really good time out there. Hopefully first or second of many. I think we wrestled once before that.
Interesting. So, like, what
I'd
was
love to.
your? Go ahead.
Love to get a W in this column now.
There you go. Yeah, so like what was your first ever championship match?
Uh, my first ever championship. If it wasn't the YouTube one, I wrestled for. It was down in Ogden, Utah, I want to say, and it was for a Devotion Championship Wrestling. It was myself versus Caleb Kennedy versus Bonesaw Will in a no holds barred match, and that was when I quickly found out that maybe I'm not cut out for this whole like extreme no holds barred stuff. You know, it all hurts. It doesn't feel good, and it's not great when you got to drive back to Portland that night. You're just sitting there, just wondering why you're doing anything. Um, but it was a pleasure. It was really cool to be able to be given that opportunity for my first time ever being down there, and finding out you're in a title match was really cool. So it was a great
That
time.
is that is awesome. Yeah, so like I know when I was talking again with Jack Hammer, he was kind of bringing up that like he doesn't expect to make it to WWE one day. Like it'd be cool, but he doesn't
Mhm.
expect it. So like what kind of standard do you kind of set for yourself when it comes to the territories or locations in which you want to reach? Like how is that as a pro
Yeah.
wrestler?
If you want me to be completely honest, and once again, I might be sounding like I'm blowing smoke or got a head full of hot air, but I want to be signed. I want to be on TV. I want to be there. I want to be in the WWE, on AEW, New Japan, wherever you name it. I want to be signed. I want to be making a living off of this. So I guess the kind of smaller end of that goal is I want to be making a living. I want to be self-sustaining off of wrestling. Um, whether they be on the indies or I'm signed somewhere, great. But long term, big picture goal, wherever that may be, I want to be on TV. I want to be there. I want to be a prominent player. I want to be a name somewhere.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Yeah, I was just sitting here just like thinking about how cool is it to be in like a backstage environment and kind of seeing other people go throughout their career and almost like celebrating certain accomplishments when people reach a certain level or get a specific opportunity. How is that kind
Yeah.
of being backstage and coordinating with everybody else?
By like getting opportunities, what do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
Like it could be performing for AEW or getting a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
championship match or getting a spotlight wherever they're needed
Yeah.
that night.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible, and it's motivating to say the least to see whether it be people I train with getting these spots or my trainers getting these spots or people I'm acquainted with getting these spots and opportunities and stuff. And it's celebrating those just as much as you're celebrating the next student getting their first match on a show, you know? I think they're both incredibly cool processes to be a part of. Um, and they're incredibly cool to be on this side of, but can't help but wait and hope and see and be ready for when it's my turn to get the ball in those situations. And hope I just can be able to keep up the good name, the good rep of the PNW, and just kind of keep building this territory right now as it seems to be on a pretty hot streak. And we've got a lot of incredibly talented wrestlers. Some I've wrestled, some I haven't, but I just want to keep raising the stock of this, keep raising the stock of this place.
Yeah. So like how cool is it to be able to actually kind of follow the legacy of Portland wrestling and this being like a hot spot for pro wrestling back in the day, but now like you
Mhm.
are the new representative of the area and what people expect. Is it cool to kind of be a part of that group?
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to like even outside of wrestling, people ask what you do and you mention you're a wrestler. And the first things that a lot of people, at least in this area, think of are the old Portland wrestling days. And you get to tell them like, yeah, man, that was insane back then, but you gotta come check it out now. It's different. Um, there's so much talent out there now, and it's incredibly cool to be a part of this team. Is really what it feels like. Is everybody wants to raise the stock, and you hear it in everyone's promos. Is they're mentioning the Pacific Northwest, and it's really cool that this is something that people want to name drop, people want to be a part of, and people are a part of. So
Yeah. So are you like what is your thoughts when it comes to the future for yourself, if we're being honest, like because we just talked
Mhm.
about what you would want to do. What do you see in the future for Cole Rivera?
I see myself getting out there a lot more. I see myself wrestling a lot more than I am, getting booked on much bigger shows, getting booked on places all over the US, the world. I want to travel, I want to go everywhere, and it's a pleasure to be able to do this. And I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to keep going. I'm ready to keep pushing forward with whatever I've got right now and be able to learn from anybody and everybody, but taking any opportunities. So whether it's in front of 10, 15 people or 5, 10,000 people, I want to be able to do it all and do it all at a high level.
Yeah, interesting. Well, just as like a final question, and something that I always love asking, especially people that I talk to for the first time, is like, what does professional wrestling mean to you? Like, if you were to take a
Yeah.
step back and look at what you've been able to accomplish, what does it mean to you to be a pro wrestler?
It's the coolest thing ever. I think if we really go down to it to get a little more meaningful with it, it's just a constant in my life of having growing up on a lot of uncertainty and a lot of not knowing what's going to be going on the next day or the next day and anything like that with childhood and stuff. I've always Raw's on every night at 5 p.m. on Mondays, There's always something on. There's always and it's grown and it's gotten bigger and now there's AEW and now other promotions are getting TV deals and now everything's streaming on YouTube and you get to watch the stuff back and it's more accessible and it's bigger than ever before. So wrestling has always been a constant in my life and it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. So being able to go from like getting laughed at school and getting the classic, oh, you like that, whatever, and then just the little one-off comments people make. But now I'm able to do it, and I'm decently successful at this and performing and being able to go out there and do it. It's wrestling's my life. Um, like I said before, this is all I've ever wanted to do, and now I get to chase it. And I've had it slightly taken away from me before with my injury. I had a tibial plateau fracture, so I cracked the top of my tibia, the top of the bone, in May of last year. So I was on the shelf for about 6 to 8 months, and not having wrestling was kind of bittersweet, and where I had a lot of free time, which was kind of cool, but also made me get my priorities straight and realize that this is something I really want to pursue, and this is something I really want, and this is the only thing that I want. It's my top priority right now. And so wrestling is my life.
Yeah. That is so interesting, man. Well, I just want to thank you for actually coming and joining us here tonight and letting me go throughout this list of questions and just really know who Cole Rivera is. Like I really
Yeah, of course,
appreciate
man.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, man. Well, I hope you have a very, very good night, and I cannot wait to see you when you come back to Independence.
Yeah, I'll be there soon.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You as well. Thank you.
Well, all right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Cole Rivera. And now for some special announcements for DOA. On May 10th, DOA Pro Wrestling is going to be presenting Coming Undone from the Jackson Armory in Portland, Oregon. And then May 11th on Mother's Day, DOA Pro Wrestling presents Mama Said Knock You Out, live from the Independence Elk Lodge in Independence, Oregon. Tickets to both events are available at DOAProWrestling.com. That is at DOAProWrestling.com if you guys want to come and see Cole Rivera live. I hope you guys have a very, very good night. And thank you so very much